Hello everybody, this is Dr. Stuart A. Swerdlow, Emperor of all universes.
And this is Janet Diane Amoria Swerdlow.
Empress of?
Myself.
That's too bad. I control quite a vast territory.
Well, so do I.
You do?
Myself.
Yes.
I am a very vast territory.
Yes, I'll say you're that. Anyway, to some very serious news. Well, not so serious, but quite interesting. Russian President Vladimir Putin met with Ali Akbar Valariati, a top advisor to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in Moscow. Now, they had a strategic meeting where the Supreme Leader's envoy said he would deliver a message to Putin from Khamenei and Iran's President Hassan Rouhani. And Putin has been very constructive and friendly, and that Moscow would invest in Iranian oil. Now, according to this information, Iran and Russia will continue to cooperate in Syria. The meeting took place just one day after President Putin met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And the main focus of that meeting was Israel's concern over the Iranian military presence in Syria. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Russia on Wednesday that Israel would not seek to topple its ally, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. That's very significant news.
Why?
I'll get to that in a moment if you'll just calm down.
I'm too excited.
But Moscow should encourage Iranian forces to quit Syria. Now, also in this in this time period, Israeli Air Force shot down what it described as a Syrian drone that had penetrated its airspace and showed that the frontier between Israel and Syria is still very volatile. Now, Russia does have an active interest in seeing a stable Assad regime and getting the Iranians out. They can clash or they can align, said the Israeli official on condition of anonymity. But the Israelis said, we won't take action against the Assad regime. This is extremely significant, and I'll get in a moment
I can't
why.
wait. I'm so excited.
But they said, we will act against anyone who acts against us. Well, that's reasonable. The Israeli official, who also remained anonymous, said that Russia was working to distance Iranian forces from the Golan Heights, the border of Syria and Israel, and had proposed that they be kept 80 kilometers away, but that this was short of Israel's demand for a full exit. They want them all completely gone. Now here's the interesting thing. Russia has turned a blind eye to the many Israeli airstrikes against Iranian and Hezbollah forces in Syria, while making it clear that they still want Assad to be immune from all of this. Now here's more significant. Israel has signaled openness to eventual ties with Assad, a tacit acknowledgement that they are considering reconsolidating the power there in Syria. And under Assad's family rule, Syria held direct negotiations with Israel in the United States and in Turkey. So, let me just read one more story about this, and then I'll get to what I think is the bottom line of all of it. Do you know that Syrian children and their mothers go across the Golan Heights border in the dead of night into Israel for medical care?
I think I had read that some time back.
And it said children with chronic health problems come across the frontier for treatment or day treatments in northern Israel. Israel says it has treated between 4,000 and 4,500 war casualties from Syria since a humanitarian aid program began 5 years ago. And according to this information, there are 3,000 Syrians who Israel says have received treatment in what they call Operation Doctor's Appointment. They like to go to Jewish doctors also. And this is from a Syrian woman she says, and I quote, "We were afraid in the beginning to come because we regarded Israelis as Zionists and enemies." And this woman brought her son, but she said, it's the opposite. So Israel is opening its borders to the Syrians in some degree and making nicey nice to Assad, even though they used to hate each other, but they'd rather have him than Iran. So all of this indicates a major shift in the relationships in the Middle East. Now here's more significant. In the same week, just this past week, Putin met with officials from Israel, Qatar, Iran, and Turkey, as well as other Middle Eastern countries. So I assure you that many secret agreements are being made, and it's after all of these meetings that then Israel said, well, we can deal with Assad, and the Iranians now, they don't want a war with Israel, and so on and so on. So you're going to see a big change in the Middle East, which I think is a good thing. The common denominator is, who's the common denominator?
You.
Putin.
No, I thought maybe you, since you're the emperor of the universe.
Well, I didn't want to say anything publicly, but yes, I did
No, I
arrange
spilled the
of,
beans, right?
Yes, I called all of them and said, no, stop it, just behave. And they said, okay.
Since you asked.
Yeah. Now, dealing with your country, African migrants threatened to kill the crew of an Italian cargo vessel who rescued them because they wanted to travel to welfare havens of Europe and not be returned to Libyan detention centers. They were told they would be sent back to Libya, so the migrants attempted a mutiny. Now here's the bottom line. The fact that migrants are threatening to kill the people who rescue them proves that the whole process is not really a rescue at all, but a taxi service from North Africa to Europe. And as previously has been suggested, the migrants rejected by Italy, who were subsequently welcomed by Spain's new socialist government, arrived in the Spanish city of Alicante, which is a big resort area on the Mediterranean. And now here's the thing. These immigrants were immediately transported to the city center, where students who had already paid for their accommodations were kicked out to make way for the African immigrants. Now, the media has for years portrayed the situation as helpless refugees being left to drown, and the reality is that they're economic migrants working with criminals to swarm Europe with a complete disregard for the law and the sanctity of basic border controls. And the conventional media lies about all of this, and they repeat stories with a twist. So I'm glad to see this story finally in the news, that these so-called immigrants, refugees, they're not. They're just there for money and to kill people. And they try to kill the people that rescue you. That's like if the Thai children trying to murder their rescuers because they give them Burger King or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, the immigrants didn't want to go back. They wanted to keep going. Not that I agree with their methods, but
if they stayed in their own countries and got a job, and there are jobs in those countries. Because remember, I have been to these places.
Well, I know there are jobs.
Let's stay in Europe for a little bit of time. Now, you know that the president of the European Commission, his name is Juncker. Yes? I just want to make sure. Juncker, yeah. So there was a meeting this past week at a NATO gala dinner. And at one point, Mr. Juncker could be seen stumbling backwards into several world leaders. And he had to be held by the arms to steady him as he appeared at the... Now, Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa said that that Juncker had back pain. And he has previously suffered from sciatica, which does impair his movements. But, now, this guy, by the way, is only 1 year older than me. Did you see a picture of him? He looks like he could be my grandfather. Anyway, Juncker was stumbling and swaying to the extent that the presidents of Finland and Ukraine had to keep the 63-year-old upright. And Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte also stepped in to guide Juncker up the staircase. At one point, he can be seen looking worryingly precarious as he makes his way off a podium and nearly falls over backwards and is led away by his arm. So what is this about? What do you think, Janae?
I don't know. It sounds very, very odd.
This is not sciatica.
But listen to me. If there was really an issue with him, the other presidents wouldn't be helping. He would have his own
aide.
people.
He would have an aide,
Right.
someone to help. Yes, he has this back issue, blah, blah. We're going to help him. Not like, ooh, hello, everybody, you know?
But not
So
only
I
that-
think either he was drunk, drugged, mind-controlled, or all three.
Something weird was going on.
He's not right in the head.
It's not right anyway that the other presidents helped him. It should have been his aides,
Well,
regardless.
it's a good thing. Remember that time recently, I think it was in India, Hillary almost fell down the steps. They're all on drugs. They're drugs, they're alcohol. You name it.
Mind control.
Yeah. So now, speaking of things which are not making sense, which well, actually they do make sense, but you know, I always mention how ridiculous the European Union really is, because they all hate each other, and so on. So anyway, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki said this week that reconciliation with their neighbor Ukraine could take place only when Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine, accepts responsibility for the genocide of Polish people killed by Ukrainian nationalists during World War II. World War II never ended. It's still
That's what I
going
was
on.
going to say. This is the same
It's
story.
all over.
we
It's
keep
like the
hearing.
2018, the war supposedly in 1940 is still. Poland says 100,000 Polish people were killed in the area during the Nazi occupation by Ukrainian nationalists hoping to set up an ethnically pure state. This is known by Ukrainians anyway. Both Ukraine and Poland have seen surges of nationalist sentiment in recent years, harking back to the war era. It's not really nationalist sentiment. I've mentioned this before. I've told you that I've been in Poland and all over. It's a Slavic separationist movement. I told you that, and now you're seeing it happen. And overriding all of this, Israel and the United States were angry that Poland passed a law that would have imposed jail terms for suggesting that Poland was complicit in the Nazi Holocaust of Jews. Well, guess what? There were Polish people who were complicit, yes, and in all countries, and Ukraine especially. That part of the law has been withdrawn. But another part, referring to the genocide of Polish people by Ukrainians, that remains. And I reported on this a few months ago that on a Polish stamp, they have a picture of a building which is in Ukraine.
Yeah, I remember.
Because it used to belong to Poland. Ukraine got upset about all of these things. It's like, grow up, people. According to Ukraine, Poland's President Andrzej Duda declined to hold joint commemorations of the 1943 to 45 events together with his Ukrainian counterpart in what Ukraine hoped would have been a sign of reconciliation and a unity against Russia. Always blaming the Russians for everything. When they're fighting amongst them, it's like the two spoiled children that fight with each other and they blame mommy and daddy. Seriously. That's why mommy and daddy hit them in the head sometimes. Anyway, now here's an interesting story. This is what the news says, but it's not correct. Despite the high-level tension, more than 1 million Ukrainian workers have moved to Poland in recent years. And it says here, and the people of both countries generally remain friendly. Now, let me explain something. Just this morning, I received information from my contacts in Poland, and they said not million, there's 3 million Ukrainians in Poland, which represents almost 10% of the population of Poland.
It's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot, and they are not friendly to each other. The Polish don't want them there. And the Ukrainians are there only to work, because Ukraine is no work. So that's what's going on, people. You know, you read this news, and they took from 3 million, they made it 1 million. It's not. It's maybe probably more than 3 million. In fact, where I stayed in Łódź last year, the building was full of Ukrainians. Anyway, let's come back to North America. Can we come back to North America? I don't really like North America so much, but I have to tell you about Mexico. Mexico's newly elected leftist president, you know he was a leftist? Does that mean that he's like communist?
No, I think it means he uses his left hand.
Oh, so I guess he goes high instead of high. He goes,
like the Queen.
So he's a leftist.
Like
Hello, I'm the Mexican president.
Yes.
Okay, good. Glad you straightened that out.
I did.
And he said that he will meet with the top Trump administration officials this week. And he lavished praise on President Trump for his, quote, respectful treatment, unquote, and for not bringing up the border wall during his recent conversation. So you don't talk about the wall, you're in good shape with Mexico. But the president, current president, Enrique Peña Nieto, canceled the White House meeting with the president last year because they were fighting over the wall and the southern border. But the new president, López Obrador, said that Trump didn't even mention the barrier when he called on July 2nd to congratulate him for his victory. And I didn't realize that even though he was elected now, he's not being sworn in until December 1st, did you know?
I reported on that.
A long time.
I reported on that
You
last
did? I never pay attention to what you said.
And you might have even reported on it too.
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
So the president of Mexico says about Trump, I thank him a lot. I say so sincerely for the respectful treatment we have received from President Trump and the U.S. government. We are interested in having a good relationship with the people and the government of the United States. Well, that's because there's 35 million Mexicans living in the United States, so we're like a province of Mexico. Anyway, all of these secret agreements are going on, and I think in this case, just like Russia is arranging this unity in the Middle East with Israel and Arab countries and Turkey, I think that the U.S. is arranging an agreement to bring Mexico and Central America into the U.S. sphere of economic and military union, and so on. So that's what I see happening. Now, I have a very special story, a very quick one to tell you about a very good friend of ours, and you've seen her picture on Facebook because she met us in Istanbul a couple of months ago. And this is a positive news for people. Our dear friend and attorney, Ioana Dumitru, in Romania, accomplished an amazing success because in 2007, 2008, many Romanians received loans from Swiss bankers in Swiss francs to build homes and blah, blah. Several years later, the Swiss franc doubled in the exchange with Romania, while the Romanian economy declined, and so did the value of their money. So people could not afford to pay back these loans, and many lost their homes, businesses, and even many committed suicide. Ioana represented a couple of these people in a Romanian national court and successfully convinced the judge to declare that they could pay back the loans with the exchange rate at the time of the signing, which is what it should be. So congratulations to Ioana and to the Romanian people, and I remind that my mother was Romanian.
Yeah, and I also want to remind everybody that Ioana will be on a few radio shows.
And television shows in Romania, probably be broadcast throughout the European Union and even Eastern Europe. So congratulations.
Yes,
Please watch
for a very huge victory for the people. And Ioana is an amazing person. She has helped us many times with things when we needed legal advice and help in Europe and as well as here.
And here, yes.
Because she knows a lot of people.
And she helped us all over Istanbul.
Yeah, she's lovely.
She loves Istanbul.
Lovely young woman.
Yeah. She's really super. Yeah. One quick last note before I turn over to you. You know, every year this time they say, well, the El Niño's coming, La Niña's coming, blah, blah's coming, blah, and so on. Well, this time it's pretty certain that last year was La Niña, it means a little girl child, and now it's El Niño, which means the boy child, but generally refers to Jesus, the baby Jesus. So baby Jesus coming this winter. But it's a different El Nino because this one is located, that's when there's warmer waters located in the Pacific Ocean. La Nina is colder. So I always put the female as cold. See? So this one, El Nino, this one is located in the Central Pacific, where usually it's located in the Eastern Pacific off the coast of South America. This time it's right there south of Hawaii and in the South Pacific Islands. So this means in the last several times that this has happened, it actually creates a colder winter east of the Rockies in North America and in the northern part of Europe. So we can expect to see much colder weather like duh, this winter. And as you know, here in Michigan, we already had summer. It was hot and steamy end of June and early July, and now it's rainy and cooler, and that's the end of the summer.
It's still kind of steamy out. It's like
but it's
80
not
degrees.
hot.
Oh, it's 80 out there. I was out today.
I just checked. It's not hardly there at all.
And I was out this morning. It was 80 degrees and raining.
It was like in the low 70s.
Well, it's gone down then quite a bit since I was out. Anyway, I'm on with my stories. I actually just have one that I wanted to discuss, which is, to me, is kind of a major thing, because this is about Harvey Weinstein.
Again?
Well, we've heard about him, but now we're actually hearing from him.
Oh, he speaks.
He speaks. And actually, he told the British magazine Spectator for the first time that, yes, this is a quote from him, yes, I did offer women acting jobs in exchange for sex. But so did and still does everyone.
That's true.
I never ever forced myself on a single woman, unquote. And Weinstein has been accused of sexual misconduct by more than 80 women. Now, what we reported to you when this story first broke, which has been a lot of months, maybe years by now.
A couple of years already.
Anyway, what we told you is it's about getting rid of a certain level of people within the entertainment industry or that's a public icon, because we personally know some men out there who have said, just like what he's saying, this happens everywhere and women fling themselves at them.
Right.
And so do men. And they don't have to do these things to women.
Right. These men, and one that I know particularly, very famous actor, they didn't have to do these things. They said they had to push women away from them.
Right. So this was a bid to get rid of people. And we also know that once these men have been accused of criminal crime of anything, their assets are frozen with the probability that they can be seized. So therefore, who gets that money that's been seized or the assets? And some people, some of these men who have been very high level, all of a sudden are down without a lot of income and other things. So I'm not saying things didn't happen, but you don't wait, 15, 20, however many years to report these things. So I just thought this was interesting that he's now publicly saying, yes, I did, but it was not illegal. And he did not force himself on anyone.
And let me tell you something. Everyone in Hollywood knows, men and women, that's just the way it is.
If you're going to be in that game, that's part of the game.
And you go in there knowing that. It's not a surprise.
Right. And if you do it, then you know what? Your soul's for sale. That's up to you. You do your thing, but you don't go back. It's like, oops, and lie, because eventually your lies are going to catch up with you. So to me, it was part of this Me Too movement, which I think is really a programming thing, and it has served many, many layers, as the programming usually does. So that's really my main story I wanted to tell you.
That's your main story?
That's my main story. I wanted to remind you, if you wanted to get
a fever?
wonderful books that work. In one envelope, Montauk, The Alien Connection, which is Stuart's autobiography, and I'm in there too. True World History, which follows Blue Blood. So these are very, very popular books. I can get 3 in one envelope. And also my children's collection now. I have all 4 out. For those of you, they can all 4 fit in one envelope. Or if English is not your first language. Because we have a lot of people on YouTube writing to us in different languages or wanting different languages.
And I have to translate all of them.
But I am telling you that it takes a long time to translate what we do on the podcast. So.
Yes. May I make a comment since you said that?
Yeah.
After you're done, I'll do it.
Auras, chakras, and archetypes. So a lot of good information in here. If you have children or if English is your second language, you might want to consider the set. Yes?
When you mentioned about the other languages that people writing in, I am reminded this week of the person from Serbia who wrote in Serbo-Croatian to me, and with a picture of a tombstone with my family name Sverdlov written in Cyrillic, and said that I'm not Russian, I'm Serbian. Well, I'm not.
You're not what?
Serbian.
No.
I have nothing against Serbian people.
We've been to Serbia. Serbia is a beautiful country.
Actually, quite a very nice party there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country.
Yes, but I'm not Serbian. But if they want to invite me and do nice things for me, that'd be fine.
Give you gifts and food. Their food was amazing.
Oh, it was always good. And so was the...
And the people were very kind.
Yes, and then if they don't tip them, they kill you. Other than that, it's fine.
All right, so we want to remind you that our September class is coming up very quickly.
Very quickly.
And I will be beginning another set of webinars based on my affirmations book. So I will have an introductory offer for our members for the first 2 classes in September. A fantastic deal. So if you're interested in working with me, and when you're around, Stuart joins us on a weekly basis. We'd love to have you. You do.
Oh, yeah.
That's you, I think.
Depends if I'm really cranky.
Or maybe it's your clone.
Sometimes I'm cranky and
You're always cranky.
Yeah.
Maybe that was your clone. Anyway, so
and
we
then
have
I get
that
like
coming
a
up.
Serbian personality comes forward on it.
So we have that coming up, and then what do we have after that?
Oh, great, you remind. Well, we have the week-long class.
Right, I just said that.
We have the webinar.
I said that.
And the last weekend in September, I have my class in Tampa.
Which is going to be announced on the website.
Which will be announced on the website. It's the very last weekend in September. Then, October, there's many possibilities right now. But what's absolutely definite is the very last weekend in October is a conference in Albuquerque, Stargate to the Cosmos. So look that up as well. Google Stargate to the Cosmos, and you will see.
Well, we have the link on the site.
And the link is on the site.
And the other thing is you just did that interview with Aquarian Radio, which is the promoters
the
of...
Dr. Sasha lesson and Janet lesson, wonderful, in Maui, was great. And I also have been doing a radio show with Max Steele. I'll be on again this week, also great. And
Am I going to be on that one?
You can't. Yes, you're invited, but you always give me a hard time. Oh, blah blah blah. Well, now you can do it. And actually, and this is the secret, and please don't tell anyone, but I was kind of asked to do a radio show. I won't say what network, and I told them I really couldn't, and they said, "Oh, please, we want you." Everybody said, so we're waiting to get negotiation about that, and also for a TV series about Montauk Project. So that's all coming up, people. Let's skip to January. Did you mention that too?
No, we have a big January class. First, they have to come to September. You don't have to.
Yeah, well, you should.
But if you want to come be a part of our Oversoul Mastermind group, the January class is required. And a lot of people have already signed up and they're making payments. Some of them aren't, but some of them are. So if you want to come to either September or January and you need to make payments, please contact customer support at expansions.com as soon as possible.
And it'll already, it's almost a year away, the next Italy trip, because now we are looking at a combination with either Iceland, Armenia, Bulgaria. Is there another one?
Romania.
No.
We talked about that.
No, but I think there was, I can't remember, there was a fourth one. But anyway, so Bulgaria just wrote, the whole country of Bulgaria wrote to me. They really want us to come. And they have a connection with the Bogomils to the Waldensians. So that bumps them up on the list a bit. Although Armenia has the history of the original Christians, so that's also part of the Waldensians. And Iceland is just Viking.
And I remember what I just told you too. World history talks about Waldensian people, and Blue Blood has a little bit Waldensian information.
Yeah, and a special note here. Thank you from Duncan Cameron for your generous contributions. Many of you have seen my blog and the video that I did asking for help for Duncan.
That we did.
That we all both did. And he has received enough funds to get him through the next month. So he and we are very grateful to all of you, and thank you for your kind generosity. And please continue, because it's an ongoing effort for him, and whatever you can do is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
So thank you very much. We appreciate you sharing, and subscribing to our channel, and we especially like your kind comments, or if you want to disagree, respectful disagreements and respectful comments. Other than that, I'm sorry we have to trash you. So a few of you do get trashed, in the garbage can, and you press the trash button.
Oh, meaning delete.
Trash. Delete. We have to put you in the garbage can.
Because you trash me all the time.
No, you don't. So with that said, we want to thank you for joining us. Remember to share. We appreciate you helping.
Especially with me.
To share it on the internet, dear, so that we get the Hyperspace Oversoul news out there to everybody that needs it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, and bye for now.
Bye.